What's happening, everyone? Just going to walk through a bit of what happened in the market yesterday, so a bit of a market recap as well as a market outlook coming for today. So on the 4 hour on GBPUSD, as you can see, I kind of said what we're going to do is get a little bit of movement to the upside. If we stay above this level, even if we break through this level, we're going to probably go down. So what ended up happening yesterday is we did push above this. Now, only thing being, I don't think it's highly likely we get that follow through. I think it's more or less we get this follow through now. So I'll leave both of them up just for reference later. But if we jump down to the 15-minute, what kind of happened yesterday was exactly what I said. So off the Asia low take, I wasn't willing to take a buy. What I wanted was some sort of movement to the upside that brought in buyers. I wanted them taken out. Happy to use that as a 15-minute inducement, and then I was okay to buy. So I did actually have this limit set. I didn't have this limit set because of the timing of the trade, but this was very, very valid. So off of that 15-minute take, which is where I take my trades off of, I had an entry model play out pretty cleanly. It was stock exchange open as the trade basically played out. So I don't trade stock exchange open. I like to cut my time off there and then trade the second hour of that New York session. There's just a lot of volatility in that. For me, I like to focus on all of London, have that hour off, and then I'll come back for New York if I'm still up, which most of the time I'm not. But this was the trade of the session for GU. Very, very clean, trapping in heaps of sellers like we knew was going to happen yesterday, and then kind of pushing through that. So could have taken it something like 1 to 4, but I would have just gone 1 to 3 being the start of the week. What we've then done is come up into this area. So like I said yesterday, I wanted to come into this supply area here, and until I get to this, I'm not actually willing to sell. So now we've come up to this, we've completed the internal structure cycle here, and more or less I'm expecting to come take this low or even this low, okay? Firstly, this low makes no sense to hold given what's happened in price. Yes, we have internally broken, but there's been no build-up of liquidity generated in between this area, so the liquidity is sitting at this area. So for me, I'm actually looking to sell into this. If I'm going to buy, I would need some type of move up where I would catch the sell, sweep some type of liquidity that kind of sits at the point that I'm allowed to take a trade off of, and then take a trade off of that. But at the moment, there's none of that. So for me, it's just selling. If I read internally into this price action, what I'm looking for is basically we've got a demand here to supply, which did take liquidity. All I'm looking for is something like this that come into the session with a slow retracement up to this, build some liquidity. I'm happy to sell into this area where we've actually built up bigger trend line as well. So bearish structure cycle playing out perfectly. I'm looking to continue with that. So what I'll do is I'll mark out this as a valid supply for me, and I'll also mark out this break here. Okay, so this break is important. I need some liquidity generated basically in this area here in order for me to take that sell. So GU, bit of a waiting game. We have got an hour and a bit until open anyway, so I just need something to kind of develop with that. Now EU, a trader actually presented itself last night. I had it set, did not get tagged in. I'll show you where I went wrong and where I should have had my limit, but it was valid nonetheless. Like I said, on the 4 hour yesterday on EU, we're either going to push above this level and stay up, or we're going to push down and probably keep melting, which I think is going to happen, especially lines up with GU. But we did actually have a major inducement within this leg, a really, really good decisional into extreme mitigation, which kind of needs to give a reaction, okay? As you can see, we're not breaking structure to the upside. We're just continually respecting bearish structure. So I'm going to continue selling until it tells me not to, okay? Only reason I was okay with buying as a short-term buy just up to these levels was, like I said, extreme mitigation, so a really, really good POI that sits at the bottom of the range, and I've also taken a POI. So that qualifies for me as an inducement, a structural inducement I can take a trade off of. What's then happened is it set up an entry model very, very clean, a lot better than GU actually. As you can see, I've marked out the inducements and the liquidity takes with this box. Really, really good entry. I had my limit set here to get that retracement and push, but what it did is it stalled at this level, which is where you would be tagged in and then pushed off. The reason I didn't have that set is my break even was this high and I didn't want to be, stopped out at break even for then to run. Okay, I've got to follow my rules with that. So for me, sat out. It was very, very clean. If I had have taken it, I still would have had my 1 to 3 smashed, but for me, just didn't come down to the point that I was trying to get in at. Okay, now probably a mistake. It's better to take the break even than to not get in at all. So what I've journaled is I should have been in this, and I've journaled both trades, but not too concerned. There's a lot more coming. Not concerned at all. So as you guys can see, 15-minute, we've then come in and induced a demand to supply into the mitigation of a supply. So what I'm expecting is this now to hold and push price here. We've had no liquidity build up here, which means all the liquidity is currently sitting at this level at the low. That's what I'm going to target. Okay, so what I'm expecting is this is a supply to demand that sits internally in here. This will either, and I think, push price and induce something to then melt, or it'll give a small reaction where I'm actually okay to retracement buy, understanding that that is my target to then sell. Okay, so if we read internal structure here, we've got a really, really nice break, really, really good retest with a retracement, which is a valid supply. So for me, I believe this point holds more than this. So all I would be looking for is price to come into this point like this and then take a trade off the top of it. Or what I'm willing to do is, if price wants to do this, try and get in this buy here up into this point. So I'm either going to try and get in at this point here, targeting through this liquidity, or I'm waiting and taking this sell off of that inducement, targeting that liquidity. So they're the two options I'm seeing for EU today, but we have got, like I said, an hour and a half until the session. So I'll update you guys in the Telegram if I'm seeing anything. That's what I'm kind of looking at the moment. Now, if price wants to push in here and react back into here, I'm okay to actually buy through this point, given I've got some confirmations that tell me I can buy through Asia, but there's been no liquidity after the Asia low. So for me to take a buy or a sell off of Asia liquidity, I need more liquidity generated, and I need that taken, then I'm okay to trade. So that's just a rule I have, something that my data and just show me over a period of time that is worth kind of sticking to. So that's what I'll be waiting for. So more or less, you've got that, like I said, or you've got that targeting this. Okay, this should not hold. At the moment, it shouldn't hold. We're acting out of a supply, so this makes no sense to hold. We actually haven't broken structure on the 15-minute, and that kind of sits with GU as well. So until we break structure on something, I'm not really happy to be aggressive long-term for buyers. I would say more or less with how structure is forming, sells more or less seem like the go. Now, in terms of USDCAD, top of a range, not interested. Gold, top of a range, not interested. Need a retracement. I'm happy to buy off a retracement on gold at all, and it's giving none. And like I said, both of these pairs, sells look more valid. So all I'll be looking for coming into the session, just to kind of summarize, looking for this to push price into here to then sell, or to buy into this, given liquidity builds here off of the take of this point. And then GU, basically the same, just we're mid-range, so I won't be doing anything in here. I'm happy to sell here or retracement buy here, but I will need liquidity generated here. So I need some type of liquidity generated here that's taken to then retracement buy to then sell, which I think is more likely the way to go. So sells are the way to go today. I think buying is against the current market momentum, against the structure cycle, and we'll kind of go from there. So like I said, I'll update you guys in the Telegram. Let's have a good Tuesday, and we'll go from there.